everybody. Welcome to the Mismanaged podcast. I do apologize. My chair is kind of squeaky today. Gonna work on that. And I just want to say that I appreciate the support and everybody that watches my videos. And if you share them, I appreciate it. I hope you bear with me as I learn all of this. And just a little personal background, I do still work a full-time job, and I have had chronic pain for about 20 years. So some weeks are great and some weeks I can't really move. So I'm going to try really hard to record like in advance so that I can keep posting, but I would love some engagement, some feedback. If you guys have questions or if there's anything you'd like some information on, or if you need advice on something, like please reach out. I'm here to help as many people as I can. So today I want to kind of talk about a couple things, management styles, and then I'm going to read a story. But one thing that I've seen a lot, and it just like it gets talked about, but people who deal with it don't really know how to fix it and like the reason behind it. So I think I've said this before. One of the big reasons that I wanted to do this, and the reason that I am the type of employee that I am and the type of manager when I get to that position that I am, is because a long time ago I read a story, and the quote that stuck out to me was, people don't quit jobs, they quit bosses. And I've always strived to be the boss that nobody wants to quit, right? Like I want to be the boss that people want to work for and the people want to continue to produce for and strive for. Sorry, I keep kicking my desk. And so when that boils down, what it comes down to is the type of boss you are. And we see this kind of in a lot of areas. It was in like Game of Thrones, where do you want to be a leader that's feared or loved, right? It's better to be loved or feared, but then they both have their downfalls, right? So you have to figure out how to balance it. So when it comes to management, are you a bully or are you respectful, right? And a lot of times people who are insecure or who got to a position by tearing other people down, they bully. They want you to fear them because to them that means that you respect their authority, and they have the highest turnover. They deal with what they'll call incompetent staff, but honestly, it's uninformed. An example, when I worked and I was a director, anytime I had information that my team needed, I would share it with them. But then I wouldn't just share it with them, like I would give them the who, what, where, why. So if we implement a new process, I explained why we're doing this, why we're making the change, what the expected outcome should be, what is it going to fix. The other thing that a lot of bosses, especially nowadays, because they think, oh, well, you don't need to know certain things. I am a very much beginning to end person, right? So if I have a process and my process or whatever I'm doing affects other aspects of like a chain or an outcome or the company, I want to know. I want to know that I can't do this because John Doe down the road won't be able to get his job done if I don't do my job, right? So it's like I have to run a report, but if I don't run it a certain way, then the data is corrupted and then the person behind me doesn't have the correct data. And then therefore they can't do their job, and now their job is falling behind because I was inadequate in mine. But if I don't know why you need a certain report or why you need certain data or why you need A to go to B and then eventually go to C instead of straight to C, then you don't know why you're causing issues. And I think that a lot of bosses, a lot of people in positions of power think that if they retain the vital information, it makes them irreplaceable. And that is a huge common misconception, because if you're the only person with a password or a certain process in mind, or you're the only person, then what happens if you get sick? What happens if you have a family emergency? You're bombarded, you don't get downtime, you can't ever take vacation, and you're just setting yourself up for failure. On the other side, if you explain things to your team, hey guys, we're implementing this change. I know that it's going to be a big deal, but this is the reason why. They're more cognizant of the change. They're more aware of what the change impacts, and they invest in you and the company. You can be friendly with staff without being their best friend. And it's a mutual type of respect. And a lot of people are afraid that when you are a personable level with your employees, that they're going to take advantage. And some people will try. An example, I was very open in my longest position. And my team knew when my kids were going through stuff, but I knew when their kids were going through stuff. But what that does is, one, it allows for grace. They know that, like, when my oldest was enlisting, we had some struggles, and there were days where I was slightly distracted, but I could always kind of snap it back. But my team gave me grace. They didn't knock on my door as much that day. They would try to help each other, or they would write it down, or they'd send me a message like, whenever you get to this. And that mutual respect is giving them space to respect you as a person, and not somebody that they can't come talk to when they're having a bad day. I used to be able to get, like, I could listen to calls and I could hear from my team's tone in the calls if they were struggling that day. And it's because I got to know them on a surface personal level, right? Like, I may not have ever met their kids or whatever, but I knew if they had a child that was sick or they were dealing with marital issues, because you have to be able to say, I need you to take a step back. This kind of goes back to my open door policy. You need a minute? Great. Come in, let it out, but then I need you to go back to your desk and I need you to focus. If you treat people like they are just a machine in a chair, then you don't get good work. You don't get people who are able to process the things going on in their life and then come back to you. You get people that bottle it up. You get people that are angry. You get employees that burn out faster. You get a team that isn't invested in you, and you can't grow with that. Like, if you just need seat warmers, great. But a lot of companies these days, they genuinely need their employees to be invested in the company on some level, because if they want to succeed, then you will succeed. And a lot of bosses miss that mark. They think you have to do this because I pay your paycheck. That's not valid. Like, yes, it is, but somebody else down the line is going to be able to pay that same paycheck, but they're going to treat them like a person. And that's who they're going to spend 10, 20 years working for, not a year waiting till they find the next position. So if you are a supervisor and you have a good employee and you just seem like something isn't right, have a conversation with them. Hey, how can I help you? How can I make it better? What do you need, right? Do they need a day off? Do they need to go take a vacation? Are they working too hard? Are there pressures at home? Like, You don't have to fix their problems. You just have to make them remind them that you know they're a person too. Uh, Another quick example, and then I'll go into our story. I'm going to start volunteering at one of a local aquarium here. It's like an animal rescue, but it's a small family, and they're so amazing and wonderful. And one of the things that stood out to me and why I really want to volunteer with them is they did like this animal show several times throughout the show. They reminded the audience these are beings. They may not always do what we want them to do, and that's okay. I'm not going to force them to do a trick or come out if they're not ready. Like, they are autonomous beings. Yes, they're alligators or crocodiles or turtles or whatever it was, but they're still a being. And so you have two options: beat them to where they do whatever, but they're in fear, and then now your life is at risk, or treat them lovingly, reward them, understand, give them grace, let them say no from time to time if they're not comfortable, because that's how they continue to grow and trust you and they flourish and bloom. So that's my soapbox for the day. I'm going to read one story, and then I'm going to try to record a few different episodes today. So if I look the same in a couple of videos, what I found is when I'm feeling really good, if I can record a couple, then I have more to post. And so I'm going to try to focus on that sometimes on the weekends. And we'll see how this goes. But I do appreciate everybody being here. And all right, so let's read the story. And if you have questions or if I didn't finish a thought, please comment below. I am still trying to figure out how to talk to myself. I mean, I talk to myself all the time. That sounds crazy. But doing this by myself is kind of weird. And so just bear with me and we'll get there. So this story comes from r/work advice from Nomadic Pumpkin. Eventually, I'll learn how to put their tags on the screen. It says, accepted job offer, how to navigate interview with another company. And I haven't read this yet. So it says, I am in the US. I have been unemployed for 9 months and I am in a terrible position financially. Finally, I was offered and accepted a position at company A. I'm set to start next Monday pending a background check and drug test. It's a 60-day temp period because they've had a hard time finding the right fit. That makes sense. A lot of companies go to temps because it's easier to just get stuff done. Although, for the record, you pay double if you go through a temp agency than if you just hire somebody, but it's fine. I already had a second interview this week scheduled at a major chain, Company B. The first interview seemed very promising, and I expect I'm likely to get offered that job too. While Company B is a much shorter commute and would be an awesome job, Company A pays much better and has great benefits. If given the choice, I would take the role with Company A. But I don't want to ruin my future chances with Company B in case Company A falls through. I've worked for small businesses that grew too fast and fell apart or had to let me go. That happens a lot. I worked for a DME company, and every time we had some really good sales, they would just throw money into more leads or more sales. And a lot of times companies focus on where they see the revenue coming in, and they don't always see where the shortfalls may come. And that causes for a lot of really quick growth, but it's not sustainable growth. So my advice there is focus on sustainable growth, let things happen. I think I've seen like historically 6 months. And then if it keeps going after 6 months, then it's more likely to be sustainable. Also, there may be an issue with the background check, but I think it's unlikely. The background check will take until the end of the week or maybe even longer, potentially delaying my start date. So, side note on that, if you ever have something that might come up in your background check, tell your employer before they run the background check. And the reason I say this is because, one, Nine times out of 10, they can tell you if whatever it is going to flag. And the company pays for those every time. So if you know something's going to come up, as crazy as it sounds, if you respect the company enough to say, hey, let me save you that $50, this is on there, is that going to be an issue? If they say, let's see, blah, 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 it should be fine, then keep going forward with it. But if they're like, no, that's really going to be an issue, then you need to withdraw. It's just like a drug test. Like the number of people that I know, like specifically like in my state of Florida, that have their medical marijuana card, that's fine. But just tell them, because there's a little button that they can click when they submit for the drug test, and then it saves additional stuff. Instead of being like, oh, well, I have my card and think it'd be an issue. It's still going to show up in your urine. It's still there. I had another employee. We were working with like Medicare stuff, and he had a felony for theft and fraud. It specifically asks, because I don't care if you've been arrested, I don't care if you had a past, but you can't legally work with Medicare if you have theft and fraud. Like that was like a very specific charge that we asked about because of that contract. Because as much as I like you, I'm not going to jeopardize the bread and butter of a company because you're a nice guy. Sorry. Anyways, just like if you have a DUI, you can't get a driving job. Okay, rant over. Anyways, so so how do I best ensure that I keep my options open until I know 100% company A is going to work out without ruining my future chances with company B? If I go to the interview, what if they offer me the job on the spot? With my type of role, I don't think they will be okay with me saying I have to think about it for a week, and I don't want to waste their time. Any advice on how to handle this professionally and keep my options open is appreciated. So, one of the things that people struggle with is if I tell somebody that I have other options, they're just going to let me go. Two things about that. One, if that's the case, then it wasn't meant to be. You weren't supposed to be there, and you probably don't want to work for that company. But two, sometimes if they really want you for the job, it's a bargaining chip. You mentioned that company A pays better, but it's a 60-day contract, and company B is full term. So what I would do is, if both companies seem like they are interested, hey, I really am interested in this job, but I have another position that I'm in the process of interviewing for as well. This is what they can offer me. Can you come closer? The other thing you need to think about is company A may pay better, but it's going to pay better for 2 months. And then what are you going to do when your rent is due that third month? So the stability of company B would be great. And you can interview until you start your job. Until you sign the contract and you have a start date, I would interview at all of them. I would get all of my eggs in a row, all of my ducks in a row, eggs in a basket, whatever it is. And I would just say, okay, these are my options. And then if company B does make you an offer, then you just go back to company A and you say, I'm so sorry. Unfortunately, I do need something a little bit longer term than 60 days. And I've been offered a position and I'm going to have to take that. That's all you can do. You don't need to slink around in the shadows. And if they're not okay with you saying I need to think about it, then either you make the decision or you don't. So many times people live in the, well, this could be great. This has a lot of potential. You know what doesn't pay your bills? Potential. You have to put it somewhere. And if you turn down both of these jobs, and it's been 9 months, so you're probably, I need quick money, company A pays me more faster. but it's only for 60 days and there's no guarantee that you're going to be hired on. So if I was in this position, I would definitely just go with company B. Now, sounds like neither of them are 100% set. Like you still have to pass your background check, you still have to pass the drug test. I would just keep going. Like, and it's a 60-day position. So company B may not be ready. Like my current position, I was hired in November, but I didn't start until January. And it's one of those things where everything went great and it was wonderful and it's a great company and I'm so grateful for it. But I was in a position where I could wait until January because it's a long term like situation, like it's a long term permanent position and it's a position that I love and that I'm doing really good in. But you need to think of long term. And for this, I would continue with the interview for Company B and I would continue with moving forward and then have that conversation. I was offered this position. Do you think you could match it? Blah, 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 whatever. So let's read a couple. There's no comments yet. So it's a fairly new story, but we have 2 comments now. Go through with the interview. If they offer you the job, ask for your week. If they refuse, then decline the job and say that an immediate start date isn't possible. Hopefully we cross paths in the future. How do I best ensure I keep my options open until I know 100%? Company A is going to work out. Not really possible with the 60-day temp period. Why are they anticipating the background check will take so long? August is one of the slowest hiring months, so there shouldn't be a backlog, and the vast majority of them are done within a day or so. If they're saying it might take longer than a business week, I'd be wondering if they're trying to keep all their options open. Hey, the OP responded, thank you. Do you mean accept and ask for a week to think about it or ask for a week to start? If so, I'm concerned they'll see that as a burn. And if they stop interviewing other candidates and I bail last minute. I'm getting the background check stuff in my email tomorrow. They said it's conducted by a third-party company, includes reference checks, a background check, and a drug test. So I'm guessing the third-party company sets a longer time to conduct all that. Plus the drug test might be the type they submit to a lab versus instant result type. So the company that I work for now used like a employee service to do my background check and all of that. And the only reason it took more than a couple of days is because it went through like 4 different tiers to get back to me, right? Like they run the background check and then they send it to so-and-so to review to make sure that they read the results correctly. And then it goes to the next person and like it goes through. But I agree, it shouldn't take that long and you shouldn't have an offer and an acceptance like official and a start date unless it's all good. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. So I'm going to read another short one and then we'll go on to the next episode. So this comes again from our work advice and it's from Just Confection 3803. No Slack response from managers. I've worked remote as a web developer for 8+ years. My current job is about 3 years. I've had about 4 different managers and it is a large 750 plus person established hybrid company that utilizes Slack. I hate Slack. I'm sorry if you like it. The only thing that I liked about Slack is I could make my notifications say hummus. Every time I got a Slack message, it would go hummus, hummus. And that was like the only thing I liked about it. But the messages were crazy. It's too much. Of the 4 managers, there has been a pattern of at some point me not getting responses to my direct messages. They're always critical, everyday work matters, and no response. I do not believe I am the most demanding communicator, and I actually suspect that I'm likely less demanding than my coworkers. At this point, it feels systemic that managers do not know how to communicate and or the expectations are broken, and I'm not sure who or where to report the observation to. It is impossible to do my job without communicating with my manager. What do I do? Things I've tried. Polite follow-up reminders. Hey, did you see my last message? Do you mind responding when you have a moment? One time, I escalated my concern about no response to my manager's manager. I am considering direct messaging the CEO about this as a systemic issue, but worry I may be extreme. Um, so there's no comments on this, but I will tell you what I did. So when I worked for the big company, had another manager who would straight up ignore me. And if she did reply, it was nasty, like rude, disrespectful, condescending, couldn't think of that word, and just hostile. So I stopped doing one-on-one messages. Every single question, comment, notification was in a public chat that other people were in. And I sent an email to her and our supervisor, and I CC'd somebody else, I think HR. And I said, due to I think I said like a gap in one-on-one communication and to prevent anything from falling through the cracks, I'm going to only communicate in group public chats moving forward. This email serves as notification. That way, if I ever don't get an answer that I need, somebody else sees my question and they're able to assist with me finding that answer. And at first, I got a hostile response, and then I proved myself right. Every time I would put a message, one time she went off, like straight up, per this, per that. Ma'am, everything you're quoting is wrong. Like, it's not the thing we're talking about. It's not relevant. It's the wrong information. But because other people could see it, and she got called out, and she was like, this is not professional. This is not acceptable. We don't talk to people this way. But it protected me. And it made other people see that I wasn't being petty and that I wasn't trying to get that person in trouble. That, like, I was just trying to do my job, but you don't want to communicate with me? Great. We're all going to communicate together. So, my advice is create a group chat with your manager and their manager, or another manager, or in your team chat. That's how I did it sometimes. You just throw it in the team chat, let everybody see it. Hey, this is what I need help with. And then eventually you'll get your response, or they'll see that it's not you that's not doing your job, and it's not you that's falling down. And so hopefully they'll go, okay, let's make a change. I don't know that I would fully escalate it to the CEO, but maybe include the CEO. But I would try that first. Like, send an email like, hey, I'm not really sure why my Slack messages aren't going through, but this is an issue, so this is my proposed resolution. And that's what I would do. Although, side note, does anybody remember, oh, this must have been early 2010s, like 2013, but like I don't remember what the chat name was, but you could shake their screen, right? So if somebody wasn't answering, you could like shake their whole screen and like everything would shake, like, you have a message. I remember that. I hated getting those, but I loved sending those. So that might be something maybe we could bring back. Like, hey, because sometimes people just silence certain chats if they don't think it's vital, and then your job falls down. So I would definitely start doing like public chats or group chats or multiples where you're not the only two in there and then other people can see, hey, and then screenshots are your best friend, especially when people start saying, oh, I didn't know. Really? Because at this time on this day I sent you the message. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. That's my 2 cents, 3 cents, lots of cents. I don't know. But like and subscribe. Share this with the people that you either think are doing a great job or maybe somebody you think could do better. I don't really care. But I hope you guys have a great day and I'll see you next week.